This is the picture of the screwdriver that we took in class. There's really nothing too lined up about it. It's just sitting there against the background. It's a fairly large format, which is what we want. And I want to go through the process of doing a draw over for you. I've already gone through a couple of steps to set this up, but I'll walk you through them, and show you kind of what I did. The first thing that I wanted to do was to cut out the screwdriver. That's not an entirely necessary process, but it's good practice. It's fairly easy to do. I just used the quick selection tool and grabbed big portions here, and I deleted them. Same thing over here. I just want to grab portions that I can delete like this. And I want to be careful that my selection doesn't encroach upon the handle, which is what I'm really interested in. There are a couple of areas, like this one, that the quick selection tool was a little bit too broad in selecting, so I can just use the polygonal lasso tool to delete that. And so this is all I really need. Once I have this screwdriver cut out the way that I like it, what I did was I just copied it and I put it on another layer. Again, this is probably not really all that necessary, but it gives me a nice clean copy here. I did go into the image adjustment here, and I adjusted the brightness and contrast, or the using some of the other filters here. And really all I wanted to do was be able to identify these these details in the surface. The original was a little bit on the dark side. It was a little hard to see some of those details. You can also play with the opacity a little bit so that you can start to see your draw overs a little bit better than the background. Notice that I've got the original layer, layer 2, as invisible, and then the background copy here, the second layer, is just an empty layer. So the next thing that I want to do is create another layer that's going to have my draw overs on them, and this way I can, if I make a mistake, I can delete that entire layer, or I can just modify on that layer. I have my two colors set here. I'm going to set the foreground color to red and the background color to blue, and using the X key will swap me back and forth between those two. I want to draw my primary lines in red and my secondary lines in blue. My brush tool I have set to a fairly small line width because I don't want to become totally overwhelming here. So in this case it's 5 pixels. Maybe I'll even make it a little smaller. Maybe I'll drop it down to 3 pixels. And so that's going to give me a little bit, lighter line. So I kind of like that. So the area that I'm interested in is this handle area, and I'm particularly interested in the fluting around this handle area. So I kind of want to draw that. And I'm thinking in terms of the temple that we made in class, the fluted temple, and I realized that since this is radially symmetrical, all I really need to do is create one section of this. So I'm going to identify that section here by using a draw over. Using the paintbrush, I'm going to just click right here, kind of in the middle of this, extruded area, and I'm going to hold the shift key down and continue that up to here. So that's going to draw that line for me right there. I'm going to follow the contour of this handle here and then continue kind of to the middle. Down here I'll draw around like this, and then I will hold the shift key down, and again I can draw a straight line to here. Follow the contour with another line, and then come right down to the center. That center line is not really all that important, but I really want to identify the piece of this screwdriver that I'm going to be modeling. This oval area in here is a cutout. This is the actual flute. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that actual flute, and I'm going to use the Shift key again to draw my straight lines. So I'll just click once here, and then bring my mouse over to here and click once again. And then I can freehand and draw the arc here, and then Shift and draw my straight line to here, and then draw the arc again there. So I know that that little internal, this inside line right here is indented, and then this outside line here is half of the part that sticks out. Then following the same process that we did with the fluted column, I'm going to go ahead and just draw across here. And if you remember, we created this with a Boolean sphere. So I'm going to just draw those sections in right now. Try to follow the contour of this. All right, and then we also know that we're gonna need a center line here. So I'll use my Shift to draw that straight line, and then going across the perimeter, I know that I need to make some connections here because I want to make sure that my geometry is all quadrangular. And I'll just draw over here and here and here. We'll probably need an edge around here because this is the, this little circle right here is obviously going to be, part of what we're looking for. So we'll come across here, and then I know just from my contour drawings that this is going to be convex, and then coming across here it's concave, and then coming back along here it's going to be convex again. So we'll do the same thing over here, concave and convex. All right, so that's essentially the piece that I'm looking to model. If I take my my photograph of the screwdriver and make that really transparent, we can see that I've got a pretty good line drawing of the extrusion that I'm looking for. Let me just throw another layer in here, and I'll fill this layer with white. So I'll just fill that with white and say OK, and then I can just adjust the transparency of this just to look a little bit better. So you can really see how I've gone ahead and drawn this. Now as far as my secondary lines are concerned, let's just make this a little bit more opaque. My secondary lines are concerned, I'll make them in blue, and I'll actually put them on another layer so I can see them. And I know that I'm going to need a secondary line going all the way along here, and that's going to be my edge protection. In other words, that's going to hold that line as an anchor to make sure that it's that it's a hard edge. And I'll come all the way around, and this is going to be kind of the same thing. We can accomplish this just like we did with the fluted column. We can accomplish that with just a couple of edge loops after we build the primary geometry. We don't need an extra edge along here because we're going to be duplicating around in a circle. Again, this whole piece of geometry is going to get duplicated around like this several times. Okay, so we'll just just throw those in there as an indicator. We may need another edge loop on the inside of this, again, just as an edge protection. So following the same methods, I'm just using the Shift key to help me get the straight lines out of there. And this doesn't really have to be completely hyper accurate, just to give you an idea of what this thing is going to look like. And that is pretty much the way that this thing is going to go here. We have, let's just take the opacity of this down. So this now becomes our model.